Okay, looks like I'm live. Hello and welcome. I'm Callie Chaplow, and I am the Director of Government Affairs for HEAV, Home Educators Association of Virginia. As things go here, I'm fairly new. I've been here about a year. Um, our beloved Yvonne Bunn, who has been with HEAV for 35 years, is finally getting the well-deserved and earned time that she has so longed for with her children and her grandchildren. But thankfully for all of you homeschoolers at home and for us here at HEAV, Yvonne is staying on as a consultant. She is our senior strategic advisor and has been just a tremendous mentor to me. And I deeply appreciate that. And I hope she's enjoying her retirement. So pray for her whenever she comes to your mind. Um, so as you might know, I'm live streaming because today is Giving Tuesday. And I like that with all of the Cyber Monday and all these fads and things that have come along, Black Friday, all these, they're all very consumer focused. And so I'm really excited that there is a day where we can focus on giving of ourselves, of our resources. And this time from 12:30 until I finish 12:30 until 1, we have a really awesome opportunity, and it is a double match challenge that's happening right now. So any donation that you give from now until 1 p.m. is actually doubled. So it's a really small window. And so go get your credit card now if that's something you think you're going to do, and try to give during that time slot, because it really makes a huge impact. We are a nonprofit organization. We work on a shoestring budget, you would never believe, and have so many volunteers we are blessed with. But it does take, resources to keep the lights on in the office and to, be able to run this media and to do what I do. My little corner of HEAV is government affairs, as is obvious by my title. And so we work in all sorts of areas of government, from the federal level all the way down to the local school boards. So we have 131 school districts in Virginia, and we actually monitor all of those school districts, all 131 of them. We are very active participants. We monitor bills and lobby and even initiate legislation in Virginia's General Assembly. And oh, I see too. We already have a donation. So yay. Thank you, Susan. And double thank you, since it's double match. So I appreciate that. Um, so anyway, we in Virginia, we work actively in our legislature. In Virginia, we have a part-time legislature, thankfully, which is from January to February, sometimes into March, depending on whether it's a budget year or not. And we're very active there, and we have been for since the genesis of HEAV. HEAV actually started as a couple moms with a card table in the Capitol who wanted their ability to educate their children at home legalized. And they were successful in doing that. We gained, the freedom to homeschool in Virginia in the early 1980s, and it still stands today. We have a great little video on our website you can check out sometime about kind of the history of HEAV. So ever since then, we've been active in advancing and protecting your homeschool freedoms, your ability. We actually, one of the things that HEAV was instrumental in years ago was establishing a parental rights law, making it clear in law that parents have a fundamental right to the education of to direct the education of their children. In fact, I have the law right here. It says that a parent has a fundamental right to make decisions concerning the upbringing, education, and the care of the parent's child. You and I all know that. as, homeschool freedom patrons and friends, but it's a freedom that we have to protect. As we all know, you guys, I'm sure, have heard that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. It can be taken away at any moment. And so we need your support. If you're able to give, like I said, double match right now, to be able to continue to advance freedom in Virginia. So as I had mentioned, that I'm excited Giving Tuesday falls at this time of year because we're just gearing up for the legislative session. So the session actually starts January 8th, but it's this time of year that the legislation is being drafted and introduced. People are deciding what bills they're going to do. So all summer long, we were busy, prioritizing where we need to do work, where we need to advance homeschool freedom, and where we need to protect and fortify and circle the wagons. And so I have three main bills, legislative priorities that HEAV has been working on and has in for drafting, thankfully, with different delegates and senators who are willing to help carry legislation for us. And so I'm going to go through those. The first one is privacy. We have made great advances on privacy, but there's work to be done. The second area is that Virginia's homeschool law needs to be modernized and simplified. It has become archaic, and we have work to do on that area. And then the third area is tax credits. So that you can keep more of your hard-earned money to educate your children at home. So again, privacy, simplifying and modernizing the homeschool law, and tax credits. So those are our three, to distill everything, our three primary focuses this legislative session. So I'm going to dive into a little bit of each of those. Excuse me just a minute. Thank you. I'm going to dive into each of those just a little bit, but just to remind you that it's a double match right now. So if you're able to give a donation for this Giving Tuesday during this half hour only, you get that doubled. You get to double your money. So anyway, we really value your privacy as homeschoolers. There is kind of this that alarming shift that has taken place in society, that our children, it's the government's duty to, that they own our children, and they don't own our children. God gave us our children to love and to care for, and most parents will do anything to take care of their children. And we believe education begins at home. It's children's first church. It's children's first chance at learning about the world. And your privacy and your children belong to you, not the government. And so, as I mentioned, we had helped pass a bill of parental rights, and we actually were successful. HEAV has been successful over the years at ensuring that the information about homeschool families is also protected in law. So all that information that you submit when you, if you submit a notice of intent to the school system, all of that information, your children's names, your address, your test results, is all private. And it's protected by Virginia law. And so we want to, continue to protect that. But we're seeing some problems. And I want to give you an example. And it's real. Just about 2 weeks ago, we had a district that posted the names, the addresses, the home addresses, and the grades of several homeschool students, right on their website, public for anybody to see. These little children, and they have, a district has no right. Thankfully, we have an incredible director of government relations, Patricia Baer. You guys have all probably seen her on Facebook. She jumped on as soon as she found out from our school board monitoring team that this had happened. She immediately jumped on the phone with the school district, was able to finally connect with someone, and within 5 minutes, she had gotten them to pull that private information about those homeschool children off the website. So yay, Patricia. Thank you, Lord, for revealing that. And then, oh, I see we have another donation. And a great quote. I don't co-parent with the government. So you're welcome for HEAV's work. And thank you for the support and encouragement. We need that. And we need your prayers. So thank you. So as I was saying, Patricia Bear was able to jump on the phone and have this district, because we have a law, pull this down. But there's also kind of this loophole area where we'd like to be able to also protect the identity of homeschoolers when they're discussed in a public meeting. For example, if somebody is going through a religious exemption process or something else, sometimes a homeschooler's name or the parents' names will come up in a public school board meeting. And when a child's name comes up who is a public school student, their identity and their privacy is protected. And that same protection is not afforded to homeschoolers. If you can believe it, we actually introduced, or, had a delegate early introduce this bill last year, and it was shot down on party lines without any discussion or consideration or even understanding that this is a privacy that's already afforded to public school students. And we just simply want to, equalize that for their homeschool counterparts. So we, in order to do these things, we need to lobby, we need to work with legislators, we need to do a lot of work, and that takes manpower, it takes, office infrastructure and things like that. And so that's why your support, your financial support, is so vital to the operations of HEAV. So again, reason number one, privacy. We want to protect your privacy. And right now, if you're able to give between now and 1 p.m., your donation gets doubled. So the second item I'd like to discuss is as I had said, the simplification of the homeschool law. So if you choose to comply with compulsory attendance through homeschooling in Virginia, you file a notice of intent. Sometimes you hear it called an NOI, a notice of intent. And what you're doing, the homeschool law in Virginia is administered by the local school districts, by the 131 school districts in Virginia. And so you'll file that notice of intent. And in that notice, you have to say that you're in accord with one of four options for homeschooling. So for example, you might say that I have a college degree or I have a high school diploma, and that's what makes you able to say that you're in compliance with the homeschool law. You can say I have a teaching certificate, or I'm following a correspondence course or an online, curriculum, that type of thing. The problem is that it's under these four options, anybody can homeschool. Anybody can fit into one of those four boxes. And so what we actually have on our hands at this point is an administrative nightmare. In fact, we've actually heard the school district representatives call this an unfunded mandate, to have to sift through all this work. They want to be focused on their public school students, and they're having to, sift through and understand these four, options to homeschool, when really it's a parent's fundamental right to homeschool. And so we'd like to simplify and modernize that notice of intent. So rather than having those four options where you have to figure it out, you would just simply notify the school system. So the notification would still be in place. We're not looking to get rid of that. The districts would still be aware and notified if you're homeschooling. It's just we wouldn't have the headache for the parents, or the extra administrative nightmare and unfunded mandate for the school districts. And so we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the offices of superintendents, and so we hope to really continue that momentum. Generally the lobbyists for the school districts and for the school board associations are anything that just says homeschooling, they just say kill it, without taking time to think through, wait, this would be less work for us. So we're working on that education process. And again, it takes, work and effort and your support so that we can do that. Our Oh, I just saw another donation come through. So thank you so much. Thank you guys. Double too. So thank you for the double donation. Um, so should this bill pass, which we pray it will, it's an uphill battle in this legislature. But I just want to be clear that this would not change the 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 reporting you still need to do at the end of the school year, where you need to file an evidence of progress. Sometimes it's called an EOP or a proof of progress, POP. There's different terminology people use, but you have to either take a test or have an education assessment done of your child, or have a report card from the correspondence school. You have to submit some type of proof of progress that your child is continuing to academically advance. We are not touching that part of the law. We are not proposing touching that part of the law. We're just saying, when you file that notice of intent, which is due August 15th, you would just file a notice of intent and say, I am homeschooling these children who are these ages. And then still due August 1st, the following year, would be that evidence of progress and proof of progress. We are not looking to diminish our accountability or compliance with compulsory attendance, but we do want to simplify things for families and even for the school systems. So that would be the second reason, or our second legislative priority that we're working on this year. So again, we had privacy and simplifying the archaic homeschool law, which again, we need your support to be able to do. We need, we need the resources to do this work. And the third legislative priority we have is tax credits. This is an issue that is near and dear to our hearts as homeschoolers. You guys work hard for your money. There sometimes is this view that homeschoolers are a bunch of rich suburbanites, and when you actually look at the demographics of homeschoolers, they are actually less wealthy than their public school counterparts, and definitely than their private school counterparts. There are many people who choose to homeschool because they simply cannot afford the tuition of private school. And homeschooling, especially now with all the resources available, is a great option. There are now, homeschool, tons of co-ops and communities and classes. We have the internet online. I still keep an old set of encyclopedias in my house, but it's easier. But you earn your money and it's being redirected to the school systems, and you are seeing no benefit from it in Virginia. And so we would like to be able to keep a part of your hard-earned money. We pay taxes too, and we just want to keep some of that money so that we can dedicate it to the education of our children. When you look at the per pupil cost of education in Virginia, it is astronomical. Where I live, I live up in Loudoun County, and it is actually approaching $20,000. We're still a few $1,000s off, but per child, can a small fraction of that in a tax credit would just make a huge difference to so many families, to be able to afford tuition and classes and things like that. So the legislation that we have put forward and are proposing would allow a tax credit for qualified education expenses. So things like curriculum, class tuition, tutoring services, especially in the special needs environment. So many more special needs families are choosing to homeschool, and so the different tutoring and education therapies we're proposing would be considered qualified education expenses, supplies, field trip fees, anything that is directly related to the education of your child. Probably not a race car if your child is going into race car or a racing. But this is our proposal. We have many organizations, working together. We have a coalition of organizations working together this year and collaborating on the language for the legislation, and different legislators who are strategizing with us and the governor's office. So we hope that we can make some headway in seeing that you can keep some of your hard-earned money for educating your children. But again, all these efforts, all this coordinating takes resources, and it takes support from generous donors like you. So we have just a few minutes left, let's see, 8 minutes left, where you still get double your money. So if you know of anybody else who might be inclined, you still have enough time to call up, even aunts, uncles, grandparents, people like that. Let them know that if they want to support our efforts to be able to get you tax credits and protect your homeschool. I see, Chris. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement and prayers. I appreciate it. So I wanted to also share just a little bit more about tax credits. We're also working on legislation at a federal level. So there's a bill in Congress right now. It's called the ECCA for short. But anyway, it's in Congress right now, and it's tax credit legislation. It's a little more complicated to explain, but if you're ever curious, you can always find me on HEAV's website. You can post to our Facebook feed, which is well monitored. You can email me. My email address is cchaplow@heav.org. But anyway, we're also working on this federal legislation so that, at every level, we're trying to get the benefits and just be able to keep our hard-earned money. As I said at the beginning of this podcast, or this live stream, excuse me, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And as you know, that's not my quote, but it is a quote that is near and dear to my heart, because I have been active in the legislative process in Virginia since I was, really, in the election process since I was a child, but in a professional sense, since I was about 19 or 20 years old. And we have to stay vigilant. We have to protect our freedom. It's just one legislature, one vote away. And so we really want to continue to protect your privacy, to simplify the homeschool law, to make it easier for everyone. And we'd love to see tax credits passed both in Virginia and at a federal level. So right now, if you're able to give a donation to support our efforts, it's a double match. So it's a great time to be able to do that. And let's see, is there anything else I wanted to cover? So I think that's about it. We do have other legislative initiatives we're working on. Those are our 3 priorities. We do have a lobbyist down in Richmond who is our boots on the ground all the time. I go down there on a regular basis and meet with legislators and different organizations that we coordinate with to be able to multiply our efforts. In the same way we're asking you to give a donation and multiply your donation, we try to multiply our efforts by working with other organizations where we have common ground. Oh, thank you. I have a note from Senator Black, who said, I've done incredible work in Richmond over the years. Thank you. That's been my work with you, some of the best times of my life. So thank you. Anyway, the legislative session begins January 8th. It's the second Tuesday in January. This year is a short session. We go back and forth between a long session and a short session. This is a short session, a non-budget year. So it's 45 days. On the opposite years, it's 60 days. So we'll be going down there. We have 40 senators and 100 delegates. Right now we have a governor who is very supportive of our efforts. So it is a really good time to try to make some headway. If we can just, educate our legislators. And one last thing I want to say is the attacks or the naysayers against homeschooling fall into two primary categories. One of them is about funding and budgeting and taking away from public schools and things like that. But the second is there's this optic that homeschool parents are abusers or hiding their children or things like this. And we're seeing in the media across the country, we're working with, other counterparts in every state across the country and with national organizations like HSLDA. And we're starting to see some media traction of this idea that that children are not safe at home, that parents are not responsible enough to see to the well-being of their children. And the best thing you can do to counteract or that argument is be visible. Call up your delegate, call up your senator, call up your school board member, and just introduce yourself. Ask if you can swing by the office and just say hello. If you feel inclined, you can volunteer in the office. And I don't mean to call just on partisan lines. If you think you have a homeschool-friendly legislator or not, it doesn't matter. When they see your face, when they see your lovely family, you humanize what homeschooling actually is, and you show them what homeschool families look like. And so when there are fights against homeschooling and arguments against homeschooling, they then have something in their mind to say, wait, I met that family. That family was lovely. Those children were well taken care of. They made eye contact, they talked, they were polite. And so I really encourage you to reach out to your legislators, and be in touch with them. I know it may seem scary if you've never done it, but it's really not. We're happy to help you find the contact information for your delegate or senator. You can go to Virginia General Assembly's website and you can do the Find Your Legislator. Um, uh, you know, there's a little where you type in your address and it tells you who is your delegate and your senator, and just call their office and say, hi, we're a homeschooling family in your district. We really just like to just come by and say hello and say thank you for serving, and take that time. If you're not able to go by, they usually have a district office. They're in Richmond, as I said, a couple months a year, but the rest of the year they're in their district. They're near you, and they're accessible. So go see them in their district. If not, you can come down to Richmond and see them. We actually have Day at the Capitol that we're doing coming up in January. You can check that out on our website. We have 2 days we're doing this year. It's a really fun event. So you can come down with lots of other homeschoolers then when you have that safety in numbers, and come see your legislator. So anyway, the last thing I'll say is, speaking of numbers, there's also power in numbers. And so when we come together as one large voice, there are over 60,000 homeschoolers in Virginia now. It's roughly 10% that we know of the school age population. It's a huge voice. And so if we can all come together, as a voice, we really will be heard. And so I hope that you can, financially support us, that you can find a way to, give a donation, even if it's just a teeny donation. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us pay the bills. It helps us protect your freedom. And it's doubled for one more minute. So anyway, I'm Callie Chaplow, and you can find me on HEAV's website, or you can find us on Facebook. We have a huge Facebook page, and so I hope also that you will be able to come back at. We're doing another live stream at 2 p.m. today. We have a brand new convention director who is absolutely wonderful. I want you to meet her and hear her vision and her just prayerful, loving heart. Her name is Katrina, and you are just going to love her. She is going to be putting together our massive convention. In fact, I've heard that it is the largest event that the Richmond Convention Center does every year. We do it in June. And last year we had over 11,000 homeschoolers at our convention. We have all different outreaches to, new homeschoolers and single parents and special needs. We have a Black outreach, Hispanic outreach with a whole Spanish speaking section. of our website and convention. And the fastest growing outreach we have is special needs outreach, because as I said, so many more special needs families are finding that they can accommodate the needs for their children at home with all the resources available. So again, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope that I get to see you in human form, whether that's a day at the Capitol or our convention or other events. I really, really appreciate those of you who generously gave during this half hour and doubled the impact. And I appreciate all of you. So thank you for your support of HEAV, and God bless.